may I please request Seema to begin with a few lines about the book.
Thank you, Tanisha. And thank you to the Vidarbha LFS for inviting us here. What caught even our attention was the fact that this is probably the largest request for non-fiction. And that was very interesting to hear. I was just coming here on the way. One of the things I noticed was the National Disaster Relief Force or building, which is just next to us. And behind it, there is this beautiful banyan tree. Maybe very apt because I think it juxtaposes what we mean that as we lose the environment, we are in for a lot of disasters, and it's good that at least the NDRF has a banyan tree which may be of some use, because as we say, one of the topics in the book is about the tamarind, how a tamarind tree saved a whole lot of people during a floods in Hyderabad. So maybe the banyan tree will indeed save some people here in Nagpur as well. It's a beautiful city. I saw a lot of beautiful trees here, and one of the things and this is possibly what has motivated us to write the book as well. Harni Nagendra, who is my colleague, and I are both passionate naturalists or ecologists, and we work on issues of sustainability. And one of the things that we have been constantly challenged by is this binary of development and destruction, and environment. It seems that development cannot happen without destruction of the environment, and we felt that that need not necessarily be true. A lot of our work in Bangalore has been on urban ecology, but it has also been fighting to protect the tree cover of a city, which is every day we hear news articles of 2,000 trees being felled. So we wanted to see how we could contribute to reconnecting people with nature and through very common trees that we have. And so that's one of the reasons. So the broader aim was to look at this dichotomy of development and environment, but also as naturalists and tree lovers, we chose a topic that is very close to our heart.
That's very well put, Seema, and it's a very apt topic for nowadays. Now, I noticed something very interesting in the book which I was not really privy to. We've all heard about and know of bird watching. Maybe we've all done it at some point. But please tell us something about ant watching and the new species of ant that you've discovered in Bangalore.
So bird watching is perhaps the first hook that children and as young people you get to nature. And there are a lot of bird watching clubs. You have eBird sites where you can put up information about the birds that you spot. But increasingly, there's also interest in other kinds of biodiversity in cities. And one of them is, we see ants all the time. You get bitten by them, you hit them and you kill the ants. But some of the researchers in IISc, which is an institute in Bangalore, they found a species of ant which is not found anywhere else in the world. And it is the only species in that genus. And it is found in only two places in Bangalore. One is the IISc campus and the other is Cubbon Park. Cubbon Park is a place where most of us go in the weekends for a walk. It's like the green lung in the middle of the city. And what is interesting about this ant is that it chooses a particular tree to stay, which is the plumeria tree, frangipani or the temple tree. And the ant is also named after Bangalore. So its scientific name is Dilobocondila bangalorica in honor of the fact that it is found only there. And there is a field guide on ants which is written not by biologists or entomologists, but by two people who are just passionate about ants. And I remember picking this book up and then being fascinated by it. You see all kinds of ants, different shapes. There's one which has like white fluff in cities I'm talking about. And so ant watching, like bird watching, is another way of connecting again to the urban biodiversity.
And understand them more in the world. Okay. So the banyan tree is a very well-known tree, and one may or may not recognize other trees, but we definitely can recognize the banyan and tamarind since we are sitting in one. But the interesting part were the names that you've listed and the English etymology for it. So please elaborate.
Banyan is Harvey's. We all have our favorite trees, and I saw that some of the when they were asking about what are the trees that you can name, there were at least two, three people who named banyan. Harini, my co-author's favorite tree is the banyan. And one of the reasons for it, and while my favorite tree is, for example, the Attimara, which is another type of fig. But for Hari, the banyan is particularly fascinating because of childhood memories associated with it and its history. The banyan has been recorded from the works of, records by Aristotle from that time onwards, Alexander, etc. And its name is Vatamara in Tamil, which is the roe tree. It's known as Bargad, it's known as Vad in here, and there are cities named after the banyan, like Vadodara. But where did the name banyan come from? And that we owe it to the Portuguese. So Portuguese, when they came to India, they used to notice that the traders, these are known as banias, used to sit under the banyan tree. So that's how the name changed to become banyan, because everywhere they saw, obviously the traders accessed the tree because of the shade to set up their wares. So that's how it got its name, banyan.
This was super interesting, and you know what? I've always heard stories from my mom and dad that bachpan mein how they used to interact with nature and play among trees, and how my mom once saved a squirrel baby who dropped off a jujube tree and played with it for many days actually. But I am really a little disheartened to say that I don't have such stories to tell my daughter. So, okay, I have to come to my favorite phrase now. Because there are trees, we know there are gods. Now, it's been really haunting me, and I have to confess I have a little crush on this line now. I don't want to add anything else to this. I absolutely enjoy the title, and I simply request you to comment on it.
This sentence was spoken by a priest. So we do this research on what are known as urban groves in Bangalore. They are locally known as gundudovs. So traditionally, these groves were planted near villages, and with trees of certain species of trees like mango, jackfruit, tamarind, and fig trees, and jamun trees as well. And the purpose was to provide wood and fruit for the village, and they're known as locally gundudovs. And there's one village which we have been following for many years, the fate of a Tops in this particular village in the outskirts of Bangalore. And we were interviewing a priest in a temple, and he said these lines. So he was remembering as a child, how many of us have climbed trees? I mean, nowadays children don't have the opportunity, but all of us have climbed trees, have played games around trees. And he said that they were not allowed to climb these trees because the locals believed that they were also sacred. And but he says, so we were asking him about his idea of loss. There were another three such groves in the village, and 2 of them had been lost. And what about this one that was left? And that's when he said that, we feel that we lost something in the process. We used to look at the trees and feel that, because there are trees, we used to get a sense of awe, a sense of majesty, and we believe that when we see them, that
and realize the unseen.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really beautifully put. Now, you have specifically discussed 10 trees in detail in the book. What is the reason, and why are these specific trees special to you, and why not some others?
So when we started writing the book, the initial framing of the book, we wanted to have 23 chapters. We wrote the first chapter, and then we read it, and we said we could barely read it ourselves. We said if we can't read it, then imagine why inflict it on others. So we wrote 2 chapters on species, and then we decided we want to alternate. So the book, how it is designed is that we have 10 common species and alternating chapters of themes. So it could be on sacred trees and tree communication, the exotic and the native. And one of the things that we also wanted to know is we wanted to focus on trees that we see anywhere and very commonly, be it in any part of India. So originally we said we look at trees in Bangalore, but then our audience would have been very limited. So when we moved to trees in cities in India, we wanted to look at what are the most common trees that people know of. And these are 10 of the most. So it could be drumstick, it could be tamarind, coconut, people. So at any point of time, somebody has come in contact with these trees. And that was in a sense to show that these trees are so common to us, but they are so uncommon in the ways we perceive them. Each one of us has a different way of looking at the trees. So it was that sense of wonder that made us want to go and look at this common species from different perspectives.
Absolutely, and even while reading the book, I realized that there are so many things connected to a tree that you've mentioned. Maybe a recipe has been added about that particular tree, and somewhere Babar's favorite trees are there, Qutub Quli Shah's favorite trees are there, and these were the most interesting parts. And when we see a tree, me as an architect and environmental planner, I only think about where they should be planted, whether the location is right or not, or how balancing they are, pollution balancing they are. But then there are so many other approaches to look to consider when we are looking at trees. So that is one really very nice thing that I think about the book. Okay, you have talked about and described many games that children used to play with and among trees. I could almost call this chapter a memoir, as I sense a beautiful nostalgia in it. I've heard these stories from mom and dad and how they used to play. How many of these games do you think are still prevalent in urban areas, and why, and what is the implication? I actually get this very uncomfortable feeling that they are limited to our child's school craft projects only. I mean, should I really be disheartened, or do you have a positive twist to it?
So things are changing a bit. I agree that we lived at a different time, and I was very lucky to have grown up in a university campus. And of the 10 trees here, I had 9 of them within a 50-meter radius. But children today don't have that good fortune. So play has become very structured. You go for tennis classes or you go for swimming classes. But I think the only way to really get in touch with nature is through touch, feel, through the senses. So in one sense, there is a revival of these games that are happening. There are we have, for example, markets on certain days in Bangalore where traditional arts and crafts and traditional games are played on the road. It's on the street. So literally the street is shut off and a lot of old games are played. And it's not happening to the extent required, but maybe also because now there is very little green spaces left in cities. There's no park where you can go and children can actually play safe, and there are so many rules in parks. This is something that has newly come up. Don't do this, don't do that, don't pluck trees, don't play, don't walk. There's more rules than do's, don'ts than do's, and it's worrying because scientifically proven that there is something known as a nature deficit disorder. Children who grow up without any contact with nature tend to have issues of stress, depression, and people who are associated with greenery need to have healthier lives, lower blood pressure. And Richard Loeb, who worked on this, commented about it as a nature deficit disorder, and we mentioned it as a tree deficit disorder. And it's very sad because nature is so important to us in so many different ways. And especially for children, this complete distancing from nature means that as you grow older, you're losing your connect with all things that are sustainable. And so it's important to retain that connection. And we try to do that. In schools we organize games, Ufangali, which is you play with tamarind seeds, different kinds of games to the best of our abilities, and hopefully more people will pick it up.
So we are actually spoon feeding our kids with very organized and structured games and taking away the good part of the diet.
I think in one way we can't blame because there's no place, no safe space for children to go and play also. Where do you say? You can't send them out in the traffic to play. So as a result of that, it is becoming structured, and I'm sure parents are doing the best they can. But in the process of it, there is the disconnect with nature is also increasing, and that's probably not a good thing.
It's so hard to believe that we don't realize that nature is the thing that is taking care of us, is preserving us, and we talk about preserving nature. It's really odd. Okay, I'm actually fascinated to learn about Vrikshayurveda. So just you enlighten us on that.
So Vrikshayurveda is a very ancient text written by Surapala. And so one of the elements that we wanted to look at in the book is there are different ways in which each one of us looks at trees. There is a sacred element to it, there is a livelihood use, there is some access for fuel, water, medicines that people get from trees. There's a religious, cultural associations. But ultimately what everybody is ending up doing is also caring for the trees. And the Vrikshayurveda talks about how in ancient times, what were the themes for protecting and planting? How do you plant? How do you maintain?
Ayurveda for human beings and Vrikshayurveda
for the trees. And we have mixed science, we've mixed history, we've mixed legend, myth, people's interviews, everything into the book because we didn't want it to be a single perspective. We researched a lot before writing the book, and one thing we found is that there are no books on trees really written by women. And that's why in our book we have recipes, we have hair oil recipes, we have food recipes. So one of the things the editors also asked us was a conscious choice. We said no, we didn't realize it. Now that you mention it, and then added it to the introduction saying that yes, we've written it as two women. So somehow we feel that if and no offense to the men here, but if a man writes a book, they write it in a particular way on the topic, but when women write it, they write it a little different.
The approach is very different.
Yeah. So we brought in which Ayurveda is fine with us. We've also brought in tree communication because we are ecologists at the end of the day.
Probably this is the reason while I was reading the book, I almost felt like I'm coming to know these both authors are Indian Seema. So there is one very interesting paragraph, and I have to read it out. This is a chapter on groves. So it says groves were built and maintained by local residents. This was a few hundred years back?
This is during the early 18th century. Yeah.
Around 100 years back, okay. And these local residents received tax relief. William Sleeman, a British officer, in his memoir Rambles and Recollections of an Indian Official, wrote about groves in Jabalpur in 1828. He said that land was provided rent-free to locals on the condition that the person would plant and care for 25 trees per acre. They were meant for more than providing fruit, however. The owner was also expected to build and maintain a well to water the trees and to provide drinking water to travelers. So there are so many functions of one particular region, and the person who's actually taking care is not doing it only for his own benefit. The same officer describes a fascinating story of a Hindu couple, and this is what I wanted her to talk more about. This is about Bajor Singh and his wife, sadly unnamed. This is only two women can write this little bracket here, who owned a mango grove. Okay. According to a local custom, they could not taste the fruit from the grove unless they married one of the trees to the other grove tree itself. So it's a two-tree marriage, okay? The poor couple spent so much time on planting and maintaining their grove and wells that they could not conduct the wedding for years. And since they have never had enough money to conduct that wedding, but fearing that they would die without tasting the mangoes from their orchard, which their children had eaten and spoke highly of, Singh and his wife sold their gold and silver ornaments, even borrowing money to hold the marriage. Around 150 Brahmin guests were invited to the feast. In the meantime, the only tamarind in their grove had died, which was supposedly to be wife for that mango tree. Singh married the tree to a jasmine vine he had planted next to the mango tree that had been chosen as the bridegroom for the occasion. In the next fruiting season in June 1834, Singh and his wife first tasted the fruit from the trees, satisfied at last, happy that they were able to do so before they left this world. This touching story gives us a glimpse into how deeply these groves were interwoven into the lives of their owners, being much more than mere sources of income. Please.
Harni and me both are ecologists, we call ourselves, but we are also very avid, what we call is treasure hunters when it comes to historical material. We love these old, dusty, musty, fusty archives that are there in every city. And when we go to visit these archives, we try and collect as much of tidbits that we can get. And this was one such tidbit. So history is we see history as a hook that interests people. Rather than me talking about this tree has compound leaves and simple leaves, etc. If you talk about it historically, people tend to get interested. And some of these stories really stayed with us. And it gave us a sense of how differently we have begun to see trees today. As purely instrumental, maybe. Or even the groves, the Gundadobs that I was mentioning about Bangalore have almost all been converted to some kinds of land use. And it is in a sense a great loss because along with the tree itself, there are so many connections that are being lost. And this is a beautiful story of these old couple who really have to take care of the orchard, not just, like you said, not just for themselves, but have to do it for the larger community as well. And so it was a very sweet story, and we felt that, again, as you said, we were very upset that the women remained unnamed. It's always when they wrote, the men would get, again, no offense to the men, but the men would get named. So we thought we should add that to bracket as well.
Yeah, I love that little bracket there. And this story also, tells us how the dynamics has reversed. See, we were taking care of the trees, and we were actually selling our gold and silver ornaments to get these two trees married and feed the Brahmins and then have the fruit. And now we are actually doing the ulta, absolutely, by just, for some bucks, we are chopping them off, we are making roads, maybe, we just need we don't want a little curvy road and we need a straighter road, we're just chopping off trees. The dynamics is absolutely reversed. This is so weird, and I don't know how or when it changed. Why did it happen gradually? So,
this in one sense is also the disconnect that is, and the developmental model that we have opted for, which says that growth at all costs, but what growth, whose growth, these are not the questions that are asked. I mean, what is being sacrificed for the growth? We agree that you need to have development, you need to have all this, but finally there are limits on the planet. The planet is limited. We can't just say that every issue is an issue of distribution and justice. We all have ecological limits, and by cutting trees, we are literally killing ourselves in the process. It's a part of the, and the importance that we're giving to environment is reducing so much. But every day we have these reports saying that there are different extreme weathers or strange behavior in the weather and the climate that is happening. So obviously there's something going wrong and we're not paying adequate attention to it. And these small things are indications of something which is going to hit us not very late. By 2029 we are going to be in real trouble. So
it's really odd that we are more aware, technically we know more science, but we have less connect, less emotional connect with trees. So that actually brings us to my next question. Now Nagpurians are all aware of the Bharat 1 case and how the plan of cutting around 558 trees stirred them and unified all the concerned citizens against this action. So there was a PIN and it's on stay now. So what's going to be your recommendation to urban planners, landscape architects and even enthusiasts for that matter? As what should their role be?
This is a long-term problem. One of the things that we need to change is at the education level itself. So our training is all in these silos. An ecologist thinks that there is no nature in cities, and we've actually had this. When we give these talks and say science-based institutions, it's very common for people to stand up and say that, there is no ecology in cities. What are you talking about? Ecology exists only in the pristine forest somewhere. So ecologists don't see that. Ecologists don't see that there is nature in cities. Similarly, when it comes to landscape, urban planners and architects, their vision, the training that they go through shows that there is only a built area in the cities. So both of them, because of their the courses that they attend, it could be a science course or it could be an urban planning course, they don't seem to talk to each other. So we have to start at the very level of trying to make things more interdisciplinary. And also, it's not that there are not well-meaning people in the government. We work with the government in Karnataka in Bangalore, and we found that officers are very, very receptive to ideas and suggestions. It's just that nobody has gone and asked them. We've also seen, of course, there's a lot of issues with that, I'm not saying that, but nobody's bothered to ask them, can we do it differently? And we've had a lot of interaction with PBMP or municipality officials. Some of it, there are trade-offs, some of it works for us, and sometimes it doesn't work for us. But the other thing that we have requested them to do is tell us in advance and consult in advance about any projects which involve, say, tree felling. Don't do it at the last, right at the end, when there is, after all the approvals and the proposals have gone through, when you have no option but to cut the trees. Because sometimes a simple change in alignment can save trees. Now it's almost like every time there is a steel flyover or there is a elevated flyover, we all have to get onto the streets and fight, and we do it all the time. But it's draining and it's not required to talk more to each other.
This is a very important point, that any study, any project has to have a multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary approach, which will actually, balance and the very buzzed term to sustainable development. It will actually help us in sustainable development. Now, all in all, this book is a nature's advocate and sends a message of sustainable living and its advantages. So, was that intentional, or does it happen spontaneously when you're so passionate about your subject matter?
Like I mentioned in the introduction, we were very clear that we wanted to write this book for a particular reason, worried about the status of the environment, worried about how can we reconnect people with nature. So that did come. Somewhere along the way, it also became about our own life experiences, memories being pulled out from each of our childhoods, and it was a lot of fun to write it. And we thought, if this is fun writing, then maybe people will also enjoy the reading, and maybe one or two will even look at trees in a different way. And we've had very heartening responses, and surprisingly from children, because we didn't mean this to be a children's book. But children are actually, we've heard parents telling that we read the chapters to them during bedtime, and one of them sent us a small note saying that apparently her son was eating a curry of drumstick and mango, and usually he doesn't like drumstick. But this time he said, quoting from the chapter in the book on drumstick, he said, "Oh, see mama, I'm eating drumstick and it has all this X proteins and all that." So that's quite heartening to hear.
Absolutely. So awareness does matter. It is definitely the starting point. Okay, now something on talking trees. There's a chapter in the book, just to brief you all, on talking trees, and maybe you've all heard of the point that the roots of the trees connect with each other in different ways, with either chemical secretions or fungal networks, like you mentioned. So you just please elaborate on that.
Just like we communicate, there was always a curiosity to know how do trees actually communicate with each other. And the first scientist who said yes they do was very deeply maligned. He in fact had to leave the field of science, and nobody found a trace of him after that.
Like any new theory.
Yeah, like any new theory. People said that it's impossible, you can't have trees communicating with each other. But almost 2 to 3 decades later, when very substantial research showed that trees do communicate or pass on messages. So suppose there are 10 trees in a particular area, or maybe 1,000 trees in a particular area. A particular kind of antelope or a deer had grazed. This happened in Africa, and they tested this. The one species of deer grazed on a particular species of trees. Kudus, yeah. The kudus grazed on acacia trees. So instantly, the trees in the vicinity, which were even about 40 meters away, ramped up the tannin in their leaves, making the leaves unpalatable. That is not possible for the other kudus to eat the leaves. So then they realized that the trees were communicating with each other through ethylene that had secreted from the leaves. And then they found that later research showed that there were fungal networks connecting the roots of one tree are not of the same species, 2 different species, entirely different species, and they were passing food to each other. And this incidentally is given the name, it's a mycelial network, but it's been given this very interesting name, Wood Wide Web.
This is actually amazing, and they are really, trees are so smart. We think that they don't have the kind of brain structure we have, and so they are less smart, but they are actually taking care of themselves, protecting their own species, and doing all sorts of things that humans do. Okay, my last question, and then I'll give the audience a chance to interact with the author. I think I won't be very wrong to say, and I'm growing more and more sure about this, that I want to call this a book almost autobiographical. So it is sort of in connection with my previous question, but your final comments on it.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a word for 2 people writing an autobiography. Yeah, almost autobiography. It will be bi-autobiography or something like that. But so Harni and me have very similar interests, and we realized while writing the book that we have very similar memories growing up in a particular time. So maybe it's our mutual love for trees that makes it look like it is autobiographical. Both of us love trees, and she's now passing it on to her daughter almost every day. So maybe in that sense, it is our research interests are similar. So that has all weaved in to make it a autobiographical book.
Right, and that absolutely reflects in the book. And while reading, I connected with the authors in this same way. Thank you so much for this beautiful session, and I would leave the audience, the readers, to question, if at all. Any questions?
I also wanted to say I have a couple of postcards here which are from the illustrations, so please do pick them up.
Okay, hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. As a forest rights activist, you must be familiar with this. You know, the way the tribals look at trees and live with the trees. Don't you think that when you talk about urban trees, the people's disconnect? Because tribals' entire life revolves around the trees. We don't have that kind of a connectivity. Don't you think that's a basic cause for all this process of development to take this toll on this urban trees?
It could be one of the distancing from nature could be one of the causes, but it may not be the only cause because and in cities, people. I have a fig tree outside my house. I stay in Bangalore, and there's a fig tree right outside the gate of my apartment. Every morning when I'm going to work, I see these people who go around it, and they're praying to it. So this connect is definitely there even in cities. It may be losing out, and you're right that tribals also have grown up, and their lives are so connected to nature in terms of everything, the livelihoods, their culture, their religion. So obviously they have more vested interest in protecting the trees. Plus they have the cultural and religious significance. But I think one of the reasons is the way we have begun to see development. Because even the people who are now sitting in the powers that be would have run and climbed and jumped around trees. But somewhere the thinking has changed, from everything has become more of for instrumental reasons rather than an intrinsic love for nature. But I definitely would say that having a connect with nature as a childhood does help. Maybe you think twice before cutting a tree or things like that. But so it's a very controversial thing too, because some of the academic research also shows that people who have always protected trees may also cut the trees if there is if they no longer earn a livelihood or anything from it. But they cannot be blamed for it. But we can be blamed for cutting trees in cities when just for the sake of development. There's a difference in why people cut trees.
It's okay. I don't know. Yeah.
Ma'am, American Motion Pictures Association has this policy that scenes depicting destruction of trees are to be avoided or minimized. In Bollywood movies and serials, we often see, scenes of cremation. It looks very dramatic. I mean, corpses are placed on pyres, wooden pyres, and I'm sure each shot like this destroys at least 2 to 3 trees, if not more. So, can't there be some kind of a similar policy in India that wood burning or tree felling shots, can the media kind of come to the rescue of trees, or can we do something about it?
Frankly, the amount of tree felling for cremation and things like that would be minimal. What I'm worried about is the cutting of trees by, say, a mining company in a forest, or the scale is immense, or for linear roads that are cutting through protected areas. So, and we have electric crematoriums and more people are opting for those things as well. So I would say that, and there's always the option of you can grow plantation trees if you really want to use them for cremation. But my biggest worry would be these huge development projects that end up cutting crores and crores of trees, which is happening all over the country, even as right now our attention is focused elsewhere. So that could be something that would be worrying.
So target the big guns first.
Yeah, so let's, exactly. Target the big ones where the most destruction is happening. Let's not look at the tribals because their carbon footprint, their ecological footprint is very, very small. If you look at...
and they give back a lot more than they take, maybe.
Yeah.
It's quite a balanced lifestyle.
Replanting is done only by, when the government says they are replanting 60,000 trees because they are cutting 2,000 trees, we've actually got an Azim. Please show us the trees. There are no trees. Just one number will come up, 60,000 trees. Where, when, why, how, no.
And those plantation trees hardly survive.
No. And what is the point really? The survival rate is very minimal. And also, what is the point of cutting trees in the city where the pollution levels are high and then planting it in some distant place? There's really no use. So these are the questions we should be asking. The poor, the Adivasis, they are not to blame for the destruction that we've revived.
Mic, please.
My question is, I have a louder. So I want to ask, every day we see many trees being literally beheaded in the city, or what is the thought process going on inside the tree after such an event? Has any research been done on that?
Very hardly any, not enough. So for example, the tree communication research that we're talking about is probably the first step where there is evidence that trees are talking to me, not talking in the sense that we are talking. So obviously we need a lot more research to find out exactly what is happening when you cut a tree. But there is some little bit of newspaper articles that are coming up saying that maybe trees do feel something. So this idea of pain is different for humans, is different for animals, is different for...
This is in tandem with J.C. Bose's...
Frescography.
Can I answer to your question? Can I answer your question?
Yeah, please. I don't know. No, if the chair permits.
Please.
Yeah, I have... my answer to what she has just asked is that research on this, that a plant, a tree experiences, feels, reacts, is, I'm going to talk about a period of Sir J.C. Bose. My father was personally in touch with him. He was very young those days, and my grandfather was actually a friend. So J.C. Bose would often tell my father, don't touch these leaves, they are sleeping, it's already evening. Or if you brushed past them, he would say, they're getting hurt, don't do that. So he did try to give a lot to us about trees. This is one incident which is very well embedded in my mind, and I always remember before carelessly breaking leaves and things like that. And another very important experience I had when I was very young was, there's a place called Virur, very close to Nagpur. Lots of people may know this. And a Sikh gentleman, Mr. Singh, had a garden there. And in this garden, he would have music played every evening. At dusk, the music would be played, very soft, gentle music would be played. And the effect on the trees I have personally seen. They would flower, they would fruit far before the time. Normally we say, okay, this tree will flower at this period after 2 years or 1 year. But that didn't happen. It would start flowering or giving fruits long before. I've seen coconut trees as short as me, and they would bear fruits in that particular garden. So I almost thought it was like a miraculous thing. But there was no miracle. Mr. Singh explained that it was only music, and he would talk to each plant. So see how much, just like you and me, they also react. They also, we
Wow,
need
thank you.
loving, two loving words when we are sick, more than the tablet. Trees are exactly like that. You can go on putting a lot of manure and fertilizer, it won't work. Thank you. Thank you for listening to me patiently.
And thank you, Seema, for this wonderful session and all the audience for patiently hearing and for these very interesting questions. Thank you so much.
On behalf of VLF, we would like to gift you with a book and a token of our appreciation for spending time with us. This gift has been sponsored by Sony, office made manufacturer and exporter of quality stationery products. The gift kit also contains our authors Rakesh Bhaiya's book, Dinosaur or Kabutri Ka Anda, and I would please request him to gift it to you. Ma'am, we also have a painting for you.
Sir.
Ma'am, we also have a painting for you made by Janvi Pandey and she would like to gift it to you.